really disheartening to see this wave of anti-transgender legislation sweep across the nation. We have had some recent victories as a community, that is true, but things are still bad. We have a long way to go, and I hope that we'll have your help in getting there. So, however, these two things, sex and gender, are different. And they're both far more complex than we may be led to believe. If you visit other cultures or interact with members of other cultures, you will probably find that they differ in the amount of genders that they recognize and how they conceive of those genders. And historically, many cultures have recognized 3 or more genders, and a lot still do. The cultural nature of gender, by the way, is why animals aren't girls or boys, they're just male, female, intersex, or whatever other word the biologist might use to describe their sex differentiation system. Without culture, there is no gender, and culture is a uniquely human thing. So, this difference is supported by over 60 years of research into biology, sociology, and psychology. So when a baby is born, typically, someone will think, why don't we give this baby one of these labels, intersex, male or female, based on this one characteristic, genitals? And then they do. This is not an incontrovertible truth, mind you. It is simply a label that we give without taking the bigger picture of sex into account. There is something that cis people can do to help this. When names and pronouns together are made a normal part of our introductions, everyone benefits from that. And changing your name. I had to pay like $200 in 2014 to change my name, and I was only 17 years old. I mean, the great news about New Mexico is that anyone age 14 or over can change their name legally without their parents knowing. I'm really glad nowadays that younger people, ages even like 10 or 11, have increased access to what we call puberty blockers. These aren't hormones, they're just drugs that essentially stop, literally press pause on all the pubertal changes that have occurred so far. If you stop taking the puberty blockers, your natural puberty resumes. But if you keep taking them, really it just buys you 3 to 4 years of time with your family and your medical providers to decide which puberty you want to go through, and only have to go through that one. That is pretty amazing. Gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria is a strong, pervasive, negative feeling regarding how others perceive your gender, that is, social dysphoria, or the gendered aspects of your body, that is, physical dysphoria. The fun thing about separating the concepts out in this manner is that social dysphoria is best addressed through social transition, and physical dysphoria is best addressed through physical transition. They are by far the best ways to rid yourself of these terrible feelings, and they are extremely effective methods of that. Gender dysphoria currently exists in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, DSM-5, not as a mental disorder, not as a mental illness, but as a simple diagnostic criteria. We already talked a little bit about money. Transition costs money, and it's kind of hard to pay for it when you're unemployed at 3 times the rate of the general population. This is a graph showing as much from the 2015 U.S. Transgender Survey. 35.1% of New Mexican trans high schoolers have unstable housing, compared to just 2.7% of cis kids. 13 times the amount of unstable housing just by nature of being trans. 15 times more had injected illegal drugs compared to the cis kids. 8.9% had at least 10 drinks on a single occasion in the past 30 days leading up to taking this survey. 21% had ever been forced to have sexual intercourse, and 32.5% attempted suicide in the last 12 months, applying lethal means to their body before taking the survey. So, transition is a wonderful, beautiful thing. I look back very fondly upon my transition years because they were some of the most fun and exciting that I had in my life up until that point. We all have a responsibility to challenge our prejudiced beliefs and to try to make the world a better place for trans people using the power that we have. There are a couple ways that you might do that. Great news about your name and your pronouns and respecting them is that when it comes to trans youth, if they have their name and pronoun respected by everyone in their life, they experience a 56% decrease in suicidal behavior. absolutely no suicide prevention tactic is that effective. And of all the tactics, I think this is probably the easiest to implement as well.